What's up, everybody? Welcome to another Last Wraps baseball video, but today it is going to be a live video, and for us, it's a bit unscheduled. It's going to be a little bit of Friday night fun, and we are going to be doing a little bit of a sale tonight, and also we're going to be doing a auction later on, and so between 7 o'clock p.m. and 8 p.m. tonight, we're going to do a 2-box mixer. It's going to be a random team break, and it is also going to be $25. It's going to be a 2021 mega box and a 2019 update series. And so we're going to see what we're able to get tonight, and hopefully we have some participants and some people that will check in on the live stream. So today what we're going to do is we're going to display some cards. We're going to go through some stuff. Basically, I kind of laughed a little bit, and I said I've got to clean off my table. It's going to be a bit of a clean off my table sale, and hopefully we'll have some folks come in and maybe check out some stuff and see if they have anything that they want to purchase. And but again, it is going to be a 2-box mixer between the 2021 and, of course, the 2019 hanger box that we are going to do tonight between 7 and 8 p.m. Pacific time. With that being said, other stuff that we're going to look to cover tonight is we're also going to do some minor league cards, and we'll post some stuff up. And most of the stuff that we're going to sell between $1 and $5. And even if you jump into the stream a little bit late, or if you're not here, you're welcome to come and to maybe make the purchase afterwards if you see something that we've posted up that hasn't sold. So again, the 2-box mixer between 7 and 8 o'clock tonight is going to be $25 US. That includes shipping and handling all in. And it is going to be for the 2021 Topps Baseball and the 2019 Topps Update series as well. So that will be included in that. So that's going to be what we're looking at. And it'll be our first look at the 2021. We haven't really cracked any 2021 tops yet. We've seen some stuff online, and we've seen some stuff in different areas, but we sure haven't done anything ourselves yet. So that'll be exciting for us to possibly maybe pull something decent out of there. I've had a chance. I've entered a couple of other people's breaks, and the other night I got a Dylan Carlson autograph card out of the Donruss and Panini, and even pulled a printing plate of Starling Marte, a 101, which is kind of neat. But for the most part, I haven't really done too much yet with this product, and we're going to be looking to move some stuff out the door here and there. Also, tomorrow we're going to be on the COA channel at high noon Pacific, or 3 p.m. Eastern time, and we're going to be doing our regular weekly live stream. But then also what we're planning on doing is we're going to be doing a live auction, high-end auction with Jimmy at Redbeard Breaks on his channel. And so it is going to be a judge hunt, and the judge hunt for us is going to be we have a box of a Series 1 of Topps 2017, and as part of some of the cards that are in the auction, there will be packs of that available. And so most of the auctions, most of the lots will start at $15 on up, and then we'll explain how the shipping and handling is going to work for that as well. So today, just before we do other stuff, I'm going to talk a little bit about the 2021 Series 1 and what I think the cards are to search for in that set, and hopefully we'll be able to come up with some things. So just going to finish off a couple items here, and then of course we'll get that going across as well. So we have a 2-box mixer, $25 US included for a 2021 mega box of Topps and a 2019 update, Topps update hanger box, random teams as well. So there will be a draw. We will be able to do it. And even if we don't sell it out, we're still going to do it. I need to get some of the cards out of this because I have to start passing it along to some other folks and getting it out to the kids that are around us. So 2-box mixer, $25 US. Shipping and handling, 2021 Topps Mega Box, 2019 Topps Hanger Box. And of course, that will be what we are going to be doing this evening. Random teams, and of course, we will use random.org, and we will use also, to be able to sort out and randomize who gets what once people buy into the break. A couple of other things before we do that. So we'll show that banner. We'll let that one run across the screen, and we will do that portion of it. Let's get a little bit there. Let's scroll that across and save that. So now it's going to run. It'll keep running right across as we're doing it. And we can talk a little bit about this year's 2021 top set. So there are 50 rookie cards in the 2021 top set. And we'll talk a little bit about who we think is worth the investment if you are a collector, and who we would put our money on or into. So if it were me, I would probably start off by saying that I would avoid pitchers. I'm always looking for guys that are going to hit the long ball, guys that can hit the home runs, and certainly offensive impact type players. And so, this year, as I said, there's 50 rookies in the set. And, some of the what I would call bigger names or better names or household names kind of now, we'll kind of look at some of the ones as we move along. And so one of the first guys is obviously Dalton Varshall of the Arizona Diamondbacks. And Dalton Varshall is considered to be one of their top prospects. And obviously he's a catcher, and he's going to get an opportunity to play every day in Arizona. And he's a guy that has been, quite prevalent in the not just in the sport card community, but obviously with the Diamondbacks organization, one of their top prospects. Another player that we're going to be keeping an eye on is going to be Joey Bart. Now, Joey Bart made his big league debut last year, maybe a little bit rushed because Buster Posey decided last year to sit out for reasons related to COVID-19. And as far as I'm concerned, I think that Joey Bart is going to have to start showing a little bit more pop at the plate. There was no home runs last year. He only had about 70 at-bats. And unfortunately for Joey Bart, he doesn't have a lot of power in his arsenal. And that might be a bit of a problem. So I think he only had about 2 or 3 extra base hits last year. And of course, that's not going to fly at the major league level. He's going to have to put some juice. He's going to have to hit for an average and a lot of those type of things. Otherwise, that's a very high draft choice that's not going to pan out for them unless he's a good catch and throw guy. But catch and throw guys, you can always find some of those guys off the waiver wire somewhere. The next guy I just want to talk about is Sisto Sanchez. Sisto Sanchez is, I would say, probably in my books, arguably one of the best pitchers that nobody really knows about. And Sanchez is one of those guys who is a top-notch one. There's the one and only Bud Stoney. At least I got one person here to talk to now, Bud, and thanks for coming by. And hopefully we have a few more people to talk to. So you're just in time. I was just about ready to start talking a little bit about Bobby Dahlback. And Bobby Dahlbeck, I think, is somebody that I would probably be putting my my money in for cards or investment of that nature. Dahlbeck last year made his major league debut. He's a big guy. He went to Arizona State University. He's 6'4" and 227 pounds. And Dahlbeck last year hit 8 homers and 80 at-bats. 8 homers and 80 at-bats. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good ratio, 1 homer in every 10 at-bats. The problem is Dahlbeck struck out 39 times. So 39 strikeouts in 80 at-bats, that's almost 50%. And so when you think of guys like Mike Trout and you think about some of the better players in the game, they're down between 25 and 30%. Guys who have power. And, of course, Dahlbeck is one of those guys who's got quite a bit of power. And should be able to really do well in Boston, especially in Fenway Park with the friendly confines. So Dahlbeck, another reason for Dahlbeck is obviously he's a Boston Red Sox. And so, there are certain glamour teams in all of baseball, such as the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Cubs, the Red Sox. They have an allure of an audience that wants people to come and watch them play. And of course, a guy like Bobby Dahlbeck with power will certainly have potential for an opportunity to watch his cards be able to explode a little bit in value. So just a reminder, we've got a few more people that are poking their heads in, and we are going to be doing between 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock Pacific time tonight. We are going to be doing a 2021 mega box of tops and a 2019 update series hanger box. It's $25, and that is shipped. That includes your shipping and handling. And of course, you got the chance at the Guerrero and all the big names in the 2019 update series. And so just doing a little bit of talking right now about some stuff, and that is we're talking about the players in the Topps 2021 set. And of course, we're looking for rookies and who to put your money into. And so we talked about Varshall, Bart, Sisto Sanchez, and Dalbeck. Next one on our hit list is Edward Olivares of the Kansas City Royals. And Edward Olivares is somebody that I'm not overly familiar with, but I would probably look to stay away from. Kansas City, outside of maybe Brady Singer, their players are not popular per se in terms of marketability. There are certain teams that, you can put your money into. You can spend your money on certain ones, but unfortunately, there's not a lot of value in their cards. And there's Luffers Sports Card. How's it going, Luffers? Thanks for stopping by. And we appreciate you poking your head in. We're just going through some of the 2021 Topps Series 1 rookies and just doing a little bit of commentary on each guy and what I think they're going to do and where I put my money. And so certainly in the first four we've talked about, Bobby Dahlbeck gets my vote as one of the guys I would be spending my money into. We've also got, as I mentioned about Olivares of the Kansas City Royals, probably somebody that I'm not going to be spending money into, putting money down on, because obviously the amount of Kansas City Royal fans that are out there are far and few between. And the marketability to be able to get a Dahlbeck or to get money on a return on a New York Yankee or a Cub or somebody in Los Angeles is far greater than somebody in Kansas City. And that takes us to our next guy, and the next guy is Davey Garcia of the New York Yankees. And of course, he's a diminutive right-handed pitcher. He made his major league debut last year for the Yankees. It was kind of funny. Eric Kratz, who was the backup catcher last year for New York, he was in his early 40s, and he was going out and catching Garcia, and he was running out onto the field, and he says, I'm going out to play catch with my son because he's about half his age. But Davey Garcia has an opportunity to win a spot in the rotation in New York. I haven't looked in the last week or so to see how this is faring out for him, but possibly a 4 or a 5 spot. Obviously, with the acquisitions of Kluber and Jameson Taillon to go with already Garrett Cole, they're going to need a couple of guys at the back end of the rotation to hold it down until Luis Severino comes off of from his recovery at Tommy John surgery, and they're expecting him back at the end of May. But we'll have to wait and see how that's going to look up. I see Luffers. He's asking if I've talked about Adele yet, and no, I haven't talked about Joe Adele yet. He's coming up. But Bobby Dahlbeck, as a Sox fan, there's something to be excited there. He's going to put the ball in the seats 25 to 30 times this year. The problem is he going to be able to cut down on his strikeouts? So because the Red Sox really aren't going anywhere this year, or there's not a lot expected of them to go anywhere this year, I think Dahlbeck will get a full season run out to see how he can do. And of course, with nothing else really behind him, I think they'll make some decisions at the end of this year, but he's definitely got to cut down on that strikeout rate. So as I mentioned about Davey Garcia, he's certainly a pitcher that if I was investing in cards, I'm always concerned about. I like the fact that he's a Yankee. I don't like the fact that he is a short righty. He's they were saying, I think in all of baseball, there's only been like 6 or 8 guys under, was it 5'10" that have made starts in the big leagues since 2000. And of course, Marcus Stroman is one, and another one is another Hall of Fame pitcher, which would have been from the Red Sox, which is Pedro Martinez. And of course, Davey Garcia of the Yankees is one of those guys. So unfortunately, diminutive righties and right-handed pitchers, I always have a challenge to want to put my money into those kind of guys in the future. But that being said, he is a New York Yankee, and of course, Yankee fans are always really excited about their players, and there's a large market. So to be able to make some money to sell off Davey Garcia for something that you might want is always something that I look to do, especially because I'm not really a New York Yankee fan. Respect the Yankees, don't necessarily like the Yankees. So the next guy up on my hit list, and I'm kind of going through in order, happens to be Joe Adell. And Luffer was asking about, have you gone through Joe Adell yet? And I haven't, but Joe Adell is next on that list, and he would be card number 43 in the set. And so my thoughts on Joe Adell are this, is I think he is a little bit buried in Los Angeles. Pujols, even though he's at the end of his career, is still somebody who gets a lot of press. Maybe the production doesn't match or the press doesn't match the production. I also think that you've got Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout there. So obviously 2 really big names that are being marketed around that team. So Joe Adell's coming in potentially as the 4th guy. He's not sort of the lead dog. He's not getting the notoriety that there would be in other areas. And so Joe Adell is going to fly a bit under the marketing radar right now for the Angels. So when he comes in, he's going to have to produce, and he's going to have to produce like an Ohtani, or maybe not like Trout. That's a lot to ask for, but he's going to have to produce like the top prospect that he is to be able to hold some value into his cards. So Joe Adell, would I invest in him? I would prefer him to a Davey Garcia because he is a hitter. But I definitely wouldn't be putting putting a ton of value into Adell right now. I wasn't convinced. I didn't like the way that he played defense. I'm not sure how he runs the bases, but his bat is going to have to play out. We're going to find out if it plays out at a major league level pretty quickly. The next one up I have on my hit list is Andreas Jimenez of the New York Mets. And of course, he's no longer with the Mets. He's been since dealt to the Cleveland Indians as part of the Francisco Lindor trade. And Luffer Sports Card says he's not a huge fan of Adell, but I hope he can turn it around this year. And he's got to run, but I thank you for stopping in, and hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight into what I think about Joe Adell and where he's at. But back to Jimenez. Jimenez with the Mets. He is he's no longer there, obviously part of the Francisco Lindor trade. And he's going to get an opportunity potentially in Cleveland to be able to hold down some spot. We got Big Ray stopping in. Hi, guys. Steve Rademacher, and of course, to one here. So Big Ray, thanks for stopping in. I'm just going through and giving my thoughts on the rookies in 2021 Topps Baseball. And if anybody has questions, of course, you feel free to ask and hit me up. We just went through some of the first few guys on the list. And of course, talking about where I would put my money if I was making some investments in these sports cards. So Jimenez, obviously going from the Mets to the Indians, is not a great situation for him. Cleveland is kind of a graveyard for baseball cards in a lot of ways. The players that are in Cleveland, even though they've had Corey Kluber, a couple times Cy Young Award winner, you've got Shane Bieber, and you've got a number of top arm prospects coming along. You think of Frankie Lindor's cards. If he would have started his career in Los Angeles with the Dodgers, or maybe was a Met right out of the gate, how much difference that would have made in the value of his stuff. Frankie Lindor, obviously an all-star for a few times, a Silver Slugger, Gold Glove winner, but unfortunately a Cleveland Indian for the first few years of his career. The next one on my list is Isak Paredes of the Detroit Tigers. And Paredes is he's obviously one of the top 10 prospects in the Tiger organization. Paredes was acquired a few years ago when the Tigers were starting to sell off some of their players. The problem with Isak Paredes is he hasn't shown that he can hit major league pitching. He broke in last year. He was hovering right around the Mendoza line. And unfortunately, Paredes, it doesn't look like right now he's going to win an everyday spot in the Detroit lineup, which is not exactly the strongest lineup. But they're going to go with Jmar Candelario at third. It looks like it's going to be obviously a first base platoon with Cabrera DHing and was it Renato Nunez at first. And then, of course, up the middle, they've got Jonathan Schoop, and looks like they're whether it be Nico Goodrum or Willie Castro at short. So Big Ray's asking a question. Did you happen to see Joey Bart play the other night? He's really tall for a catcher, and 2, he beat out a throw to first, and 3, he seems to have great patience as a batter from what he's seen so far. So Big Ray, that's good insight. Really tall for a catcher. There were 2 guys in 10 years ago that stood 6'5" or were listed at 6'5", and those 2 guys are Joe Mauer and the other one was Wieters. And so anybody who's really 6'3" or taller for a catcher, that's pretty big in height. Joey Bart, obviously a young guy, has some wheels. The catchers that I remember that have had wheels recently have been Jason Kendall when he was with the Pirates early in his career. He could run, and Russell Martin. So yeah, sometimes the young catchers, they haven't lost their legs yet. They can still get down the line. It's not hard on their knees. So that's cool to hear that he's got a little bit of movement. As far as my concerns with Joey Bart is last year in his big league plate appearances, I think he only had 3 extra base hits and he had no home runs. So I would be really, really, really alarmed if I was putting my money into Bart. Is he going to show some juice in the bat? I see Rad Dad and B-Dog stopped in, and he just said he wanted to stop in and drop a like and say hello. He's at Rad's practice, can't hang out, but he'll check in later and see if we're around once it's over. Rad Dad, I appreciate you taking the time to poke your head in, and I hope your son's having a good practice tonight. Probably a great night to be on the field down there in Arizona. Next up on my hit list, I was just talking about Isak Paredes, but my next one up is David Peterson of the New York Mets. And so David Peterson is probably competing for a 5th spot in their rotation right now. With obviously with Noah Syndergaard out, they've got Carlos Carrasco, who they acquired in the trade with the Indians. You've got DeGrom, and you've got, as I said, you've got they've recently signed Taijuan Walker and Marcus Stroman. Really, that only leaves 1 spot left in the rotation. So in Mets camp, they've got Jordan Yamamoto, who was a rookie last year for the Florida Marlins or the Miami Marlins. And then, of course, you've got Peterson. And then once Syndergaard comes back, this might only be a temporary role for David Peterson in the Mets lineup. So I think being that he's a lefty, you get an opportunity early. I can maybe shift him to the bullpen if he can show that he can throw strikes, or maybe send him down and let him keep stretched out in AAA in case somebody comes up with an injury. Next up on my hit list is somebody I probably know not a whole lot about, and that's Albert Abreu of the New York Yankees. And kind of as I mentioned earlier, as far as I'm concerned, what I would do is any type of guys who are with the Yankees, I like squirreling those guys away, especially hitters. Yankee prospects who are hitters, obviously Jason Dominguez is the easy choice, and Anthony Volpe maybe is another guy. But anytime that there are guys that are wearing the Yankees uniforms, as far as I'm concerned, those are guys that are worth putting your money into. And I think Both of those guys are definitely worth keeping an eye on. And this one here being Albert Abreu. Again, throw a few dollars into Abreu, and maybe you might end up spawning and picking something up that might end up being worthwhile. And before I carry on, I'd like to take a moment here, come up for a little bit of air, and remind everybody that tomorrow we are going to be live at noon on the COA channel. We are going to be doing our weekly commentary. And then right after that, we're going to be doing a live auction. It's going to be a high-end auction on Jimmy's channel on Redbeard Breaks. And that's going to be right after what we're doing here. And then, of course, Jimmy's going to do a mixer break late night as well. And for us, between 7 and 8 o'clock Pacific time, we are going to break the mega box that you see in front of you and the 2019 hanger box. We're going to do a $25 all in. Whether it sells out or not, we are going to break it live. I've got only a couple people that are on there. And so if you want a spot, let me know. I need the cards. I've got to be able to get those out to our kids here coming up. And we see a few others. We see obviously Big Ray's asking Steve Rademacher if he's still alive. And so I don't know. Sometimes Steve's alive, and sometimes he's a little bit dead. But we know Steve likes his old Milwaukee, and those are the nights we're not sure if he's alive or dead. On to my next one, and it's Tariq Skubal of the Detroit Tigers, and this is card number 92 of the set. And Tariq Skubal, left-hander, power arm for the Tigers. He has, in some ways, quietly moved his way up to the third best prospect in the organization. He is slotted in right now behind Spencer Torkelson and Casey Mize. And depending on the boards you look at, Matt Manning could be in there too, Riley Green. Those are kind of the top 5 Tiger prospects. And, certainly you've got, Tariq Skubal, who was a University of Seattle pitcher, Tommy John survivor, and has really started to come back strong in the Tiger organization. So had a pretty good spring. There's a good chance that he's going to get a spot in the rotation. And of course, being on the Tigers, there's going to be a opportunity to get a chance to pitch this year. And Skubal, they're going to turn the ball over to him every 5th day, it looks like. So would he be a guy I'd invest in? Well, it's Detroit. It's the Tigers. They're, when they're popular, it's usually when they're good, and when they're not good, they're not very popular nationally. So I don't know. Pitcher, Skubal, I'm not sold necessarily. That would be a great investment, even though I do like the player. Daniel Johnson, Cleveland Indians. He's the next one on our list. Daniel Johnson, obviously rookie. Don't know much about him. I do know that I believe that last night on Jimmy's channel, they pulled a Daniel Johnson autograph card. And of course, Daniel Johnson with the Indians, the Indians this year I think they're going to do well. I think a lot of people have written them off because they've moved Lindor and they've moved Carrasco. I don't think they're going to skip a beat with that pitching staff. That's a young pitching staff, and it's going to be all over again. Obviously with Bieber and Pletko and Savali and Cal Quantrill battling for a spot, and Tristan Mckenzie, and the list goes on. They have a serious series of arms over there that can absolutely deal. Now, the offensive side of things, outside of Jose Ramirez, there's a lot of wild cards in that Cleveland Indian organization. I know that Bobby Bradley is going to get an opportunity to play this year, and we're gonna find out where he sinks or swims. And what I think about Bobby Bradley, I think of Chris Carter, who played with Milwaukee and Houston a few years ago, where he led the league with 40+ homers, and but struck out 200 and some odd times. And I have a real bad feeling that that's going to be what Bobby Bradley's going to look like. But obviously the young guys and young prospects, Josh Naylor and different ones, they are going to get an opportunity to be able to play. And so Daniel Johnson's outfielder. He's a left-handed hitter, throws left-handed. He's 5'10", 200 pounds. Made his major league debut last year. He got 13 plate appearances. He was 1 for 12 at the plate. But over the course of his minor league career, he showed some power at the younger levels. He hit 22 homers 1 year between low A and high A in 2017. And then again in 2019, he hit 19 homers between Double A and Triple A. So he shows that he's got a little bit of juice in the bat. Average-wise, he is a career 287 minor league hitter. But hitting minor league pitching is not hitting big league pitching, and that's where it's going to be interesting to see how Daniel Johnson makes out. But I don't know if he is ready yet for a full-time role. I think that he's probably 3 or 4 years away from making an impact, or maybe 3 years away from making an impact in that Indian lineup. Certainly Josh Naylor, Orlando Merced, and who knows what's going to go on with Bradley Zimmer. If he could stay healthy, he may get one last kick at the can this year as well. To show that he can maybe hold down a spot. He's got all the physical tools, just can he stay healthy? We're talking tonight, we're going through basically through the Topps 2021 Series 1 set, and talking about rookies, looking at who I would invest in, who I would put my money in, possibly who we would have an interest in. And of course, the next up on my hit list is a Toronto Blue Jay pitcher, and that would be Nate Pearson. And Nate Pearson has had a history of injuries. He's had another setback yet here 3 days ago, and we're not sure where that is going to put Pearson. So he's aggravated a groin strain, which sidelined him since March the 1st. And so, of course, pitchers, they need their legs to be able to throw hard. And of course, Pearson is a power arm. And if he's not healthy from the waist down, it's going to be very, very difficult to throw from the waist up. And last year, Pearson pitched in 5 games for the Blue Jays at the big league level, made his major league debut. And he had 4 of those 5 games were starts. 18 innings, concerns. 18 innings, he walked 13 batters, just doesn't have enough control. And he did strike out 16 hitters, so he's almost at 1 per game. His ERA was at 6, and his WHIP was at 1.5, which is. And so, I look at Pearson and I say, well, here's a guy who definitely has, a mid-upper 90 fastball. Can he stay healthy? Can he throw strikes? And that's going to be a key for the Blue Jays, because really after Hyun-Jin Ryu, it's a lot of question marks in that rotation. So Nate Pearson, is he a guy that I would invest in? Problem is, he's playing for the Blue Jays north of the border. He's not really somebody that's, I would say, a glamour, kind of a glamour team or a glamour guy. And I think that I probably wouldn't put my money in Nate Pearson. I think probably at some point they're going to have to make a decision, the Blue Jays. Does he go to the bullpen? Is he going to go to the bullpen and have to pitch there because he can't stay healthy? Big Rays Ball Cards and Auction says Franco and or Dominguez get called up this year. I've invested heavily in both. The bad news is Wander Franco has been sent down again. So he's going to start the year in AAA. I think he's getting the Chris Bryant treatment. They're going to keep him down there until 2 things happen. Either it gets past that deadline, what is it, about 3 weeks into the season, where they can call him up, so they keep him an extra year for team control. The other thing is you've got a pretty solid big league shortstop in Willy Adames. And I think I haven't looked tightly at the Cincinnati Reds prospect list, but if I'm scouring over the prospect list, I think those 2 teams have to have a dance partner, or should be dance partners. Willy Adames is he's a really good everyday shortstop, good defensively, got some offensive juice. Reds apparently this week are going to go with Eugenio Suarez, moving over from third to short. They're going to put Moustakas at third, and they're going to have one of their top prospects that would be Jonathan India play second base. So I don't know if that's a long-term solution, having Suarez play shortstop, but certainly a temporary Band-Aid. So if I'm Cincinnati, I'm on the phone to Tampa Bay saying, hey, look, we got to figure this out. Let's see if we can get something done, and maybe we can make a deal here to get Adames out of them for maybe some sort of pitching prospect. And I know that in return, they definitely like pitching prospects. So we'll see what's going to happen there. The next up on the hit list is another Kansas City Royal. And my thoughts earlier on Kansas City Royals are I would stay away from them. I would avoid them. Even though I really like Brady Singer, I just would have a hard time putting money into Singer. And I do want to go back before I get off onto the Royals again here. You did ask about Jason Dominguez. I would be shocked if Dominguez would be called up this year. And the question or the reason for that is one, and he just turned 18 years old. Two is I think he's probably maybe a 2022 guy, maybe. But also, too, where is he going to play with all those contracts there? And I think that a guy like Dominguez, you've got Judge, you got Stanton, you've got Hicks, you got Gardner and Frazier all in the outfield right now. Not that he potentially is going to be better than all of those guys. I just think right now the question is those guys are all under contract. You've got team control for Jason Dominguez. You're in no rush. He could be a major league ready guy playing in Double or Triple A, and the Yankees won't lose sleep on it. But I've seen highlights of Dominguez. I've seen his swing. I've seen his speed. When they call him the Martian, he is definitely a freak. He's out of this world in terms of his ability. Some of the stuff that you've seen on social media with him, the crack of the bat, the way the ball sounds coming off at his bat sounds a lot different than what you would see with other guys and or what you hear with other guys. And so Jason Dominguez is a guy that I think I would be holding tightly on, and he's a Yankee guy. In fact, I would probably, if I had to pick one of the two there, Big Ray, I would be holding on tighter to Dominguez than I would be to Franco. Franco might end up being the better player, but you're stuck in Tampa Bay. and it's only a matter of time until Tampa Bay is going to flip you and move you somewhere down the trail in the next 5 or 6 years. But Jason Dominguez, if he comes up, if he's a Yankee, he might be a Yankee for more than just 4 or 5 seasons. He comes up, if he's good, they may keep him for a very long time, and that will do wonders for the price of his card, especially if he could hit some balls out of the park, much like Aaron Judge did in his rookie year. And speaking of Aaron Judge, we are going to be doing a Judge hunt tomorrow. Tomorrow on Jimmy's channel, we are going to be doing a high-end auction at Redbeard Breaks. And we are going to have a Series 1 Topps 2017 hobby box packs will be part of the auction lots. Those packs currently are going on eBay for $10 to $12 a pack. And of course, some of the auctions that we'll have cards in with it as well. We'll be starting around $15 to $20 a lot. And there's a chance that you could pull a Judge rookie. And of course, not just Judge, there's Alec Bregman and others that are in there as well. But certainly that'll be right after the COA channel, which has their platform going at noon Pacific and 3 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow. So we'll be going on live on Jimmy's channel right after that. The next guy that I'm going to look at in this set is Nick Heath, and Nick Heath is another Kansas City Royal. And so Nick Heath is somebody that I would probably not be putting money into. They've got him listed as a center fielder. They got him as a pinch hitter, and they've got him a pinch runner and a DH. Made his major league debut last year for the Kansas City Royals, and he was saw 18 plate appearances, 13 at bats, 2 hits, had a double, 3 RBIs, stole a couple of bases, was caught twice. But he's 27 years old. And obviously with the moves that the Royals have made in the offseason with Andrew Benintendi in left center field, they have Michael Taylor, and it looks like Whit Merrifield is going to be holding down the right field spot. With that as the outfield spot, or maybe even Jorge Soler sometimes when he's not DHing, I don't know where Nick Heath is going to play. So Nick Heath looks like he's a lot of speed. He's going to be a guy, and he's 27 years old. So if you're looking to invest in a guy like a Nick Heath, I sure wouldn't be putting my money into that Kansas City Royal outfielder. Bad team, part-time player, doesn't really have a spot, and the sand is running out of the hourglass. Now, is he going to maybe make himself 3 or 4 or 5 years career out of it? Possibly. But I think we're going to. Who knows what we're going to see with Nick Heath? But I wouldn't be putting my money into him. Next on the hit list is another Detroit Tiger. A lot of Tigers on this list, and that would be Beau Burrows. And Beau Burrows, another guy who his time is running out in Detroit. Beau Burrows was a first-round pick, and he's had some shoulder issues in the minor leagues. And you can always get through elbow issues at some point in time. It's not easy, but if you've got a pitcher who's got shoulder problems, that becomes a problem. And so last year in Detroit, he was basically a bullpen arm. And just excuse me for a minute, guys. I don't want to cough in your ear. Beau Burrows basically relegated now to a bullpen arm. And, the biggest problem with Beau Burrows is too many walks. You need to have pitchers coming out of the pen throwing strikes. And he made his major league debut last year for Detroit. He pitched in 5 games, 6 2/3 innings, 8 hits, 4 runs allowed, 4 earned, walking 3 Ks, but had an ERA in limited innings up to 5.4. The biggest problem is, good to see you, Stoney. Thanks for stopping in, and maybe we'll catch you again on the flip side. One of the biggest problems I find with Beau Burrows is that he's lost velocity on his fastball. He doesn't have the same velo that he did, and obviously that's part and parcel to the issues that he's having with his shoulder. So Detroit Tiger player, not on a glamour team, and also a relief pitcher is a recipe for disaster when you're going to invest in your sport cards and who you're looking to flip. So Beau Burrows is a guy I would stay away from. I would not touch him at all. Next up on my hit list is one of the many Florida Marlin players. And so this one is going to be Monty Harrison. And so Monty Harrison is a 6'3", 225-pound outfielder who the Brewers selected in the second round of the 2014 Major League Draft. And so he's 25 years old now. He's getting on in his age. And he was acquired in the trade with the Brewers with Lewis Brinson, Isan Diaz, and Jordan Yamamoto for Christian Yelich. And of course, Brinson's not lived up to his billing. Yamamoto was a one and done. He got released. Isan Diaz decided to sit out the season last year because of COVID. And then about 3 or 4 weeks into the season, when the Marlins were doing well and winning, he decided that, hey, maybe I should come back and start playing. And of course, he didn't have a great year. But Harrison made his debut last year. He was 8 for 47 at the plate with 1 double and 1 home run. He stole 6 bases, hit $170, but the alarming thing there was 47 at bats, 26 strikeouts. So he's striking out more than every other time he steps up to the plate. So again, here's a guy, 25 years old. Usually at the age of 25, they say you're either a prospect or a suspect. And certainly Harrison is playing himself into a suspect with those kind of numbers. It'll be interesting to see when he ends up in a Hiroshima Carp or a Japanese destination. He might be that kind of guy that, is too good for AAA, not good enough for the big leagues, but he's kind of that 4A player that's going to have to find his way somewhere else. And maybe that would be in Korea or Japan. Maybe you can sort that out. Guys have had long careers over there. Our next up on our hit list is Humberto Maia. Humberto Maia is a Arizona Diamondback prospect, and Humberto, again, another team that I am never a fan of, and that is for investing in their cards. Maia, he was originally signed by the originally signed by the Marlins, if I'm not mistaken, and he came in and he was an international free agent. He's from Panama. He's 24 years old now, and he was with the Marlins last year. And of course, he started 3 games. He's got a 5.4 ERA, 10 innings, 13 hits. He got knocked around a little bit. Walked 6 guys, struck out 11. Well, the Marlins obviously are in a situation where they've got a lot of prospects that are getting rolled out. I see we've got STM Jr. and we got Hollis in the house. And STM Jr. says Ryan Mountcastle is the one I'm liking this year the most, and always liked Vladdy Jr. and Bodo too. Mountcastle is actually the next guy on my hit list, and I think that Ryan Mountcastle is one of my 5 guys that I'm putting money into this year as far as a prospect or as far as investing in for cards. So Mountcastle's now, he's 24 years old, just turned. Last year he got himself a full short season, almost a full short season in the bigs. He had 5 homers, 23 RBIs, and he hit 333 in 126 plate appearances. And Mountcastle is going to get a chance to play every day in Baltimore. The 6'4", 230-pounder swings from the right side, right-handed thrower, and Mountcastle is going to get a chance to be a run producer in the middle of the order there. And I could see Mountcastle hitting maybe between 22 and 28 homers and driving himself in between 80 and 95 runs this year. He would probably drive in more runs on another team, being that if he had guys who could get on base in front of him. And I don't know if there's enough guys in Baltimore who can get on base in front of Mountcastle to do damage like that. So Mountcastle, probably a guy that long term is going to be it. My only fear about Mountcastle, does he turn into the next Nick Markakis, where it's a really steady player, really good player for years in Baltimore, never gets the notoriety, never gets the card values to jump up, and we might see something along that line with Ryan Mountcastle. But I do like his abilities. Maybe if he was somewhere else other than Baltimore, it would be something worth investing in. I'm going to skip over a couple of guys. I'm going to skip over Anderson Tejada, the Texas Rangers, and Cody Whiteley of the St. Louis Cardinals. I do want to talk a little bit about Evan White in the Seattle Mariner organization. And Evan White, there are a lot of expectations for White in Seattle. Last year, he was Gold Glove winner in the American League. And of course, when you're playing first base, unless your last name is Grace and first name is Mark, you need to produce offensively in that position. And so last year, that's a concern. Evan White basically was handed the role over Ryan Healy, who had come over from the Oakland A's and never was able to really hold down a spot, and Healy was gone. And so last year, Evan White played in 54 of the 60 games, had himself 182 at bats last year with 202 plate appearances, and he only hit $176. The other alarming factor about Evan White is he struck out 84 times in those 182 at bats. So, you're looking at a guy striking out 40 some odd percent of the time, not putting the ball into play, and that is a major concern. Now, he did hit 8 home runs, and he did drive in 26, so he is a guy that can sit in the middle of the order and potentially drive some runs in, but he's got to do a much better job of making contact, and he's got to cut down the strikeout rate. I think if you got a guy who can hit you 30 bombs a year, you can live with a 30 to 35% strikeout rate, but certainly when you're striking out 50% of the time, much like Bobby Dahlback was doing in Boston last year, those are concerns. But obviously the Gold Glove, that plays. But now he needs to be able to figure it out with the bat. And first base is a position that you need guys to swing the bats. After Evan White, next guy I'm going to jump to is Tyler Stevenson of the Cincinnati Reds. When I think of offensive prospects in Cincinnati, Tyler Stevenson is one of their top ones that comes to mind. He's a catcher, and I don't know if he's going to start in the big leagues straight away. Obviously, they got Tucker Barnhart there as well. He did make his major league debut last year, and he was 5 for 17 with a couple homers and 6 RBIs, and gave him a .294 batting average. Another guy striking out 9 times in 17 plate appearances. But I really don't know if Stevenson is a guy that I would invest in. Obviously, Cincinnati Red, they haven't been the glamour team that they've been in years past, and it's they can't keep the guys once they get them. A prime example, of course, was getting Trevor Bauer and then basically losing him for nothing in the offseason last year as he signed as a free agent with the Dodgers. And so, those are the kind of things. And so STM jumps in and he says, or Adam Jones or Matt Wieters or Arrieta or a few others that the Orioles just didn't hit big. And then, of course, Arrieta did after he left. Adam Jones had a really, really, really good career with the Baltimore Orioles. And he was a multiple-time Gold Glove winner. He was I think he won Silver Slugger once in Baltimore. And Adam Jones obviously was acquired in a great trade. It was really a one-sided trade. Jones, it was Chris Tillman, and I can't remember the other guy that went to the Orioles in return for Eric Bedard. And Eric Bedard went to Seattle and was an absolute bust. The Orioles fleeced them. They got themselves an everyday center fielder. They got an all-star out of Tillman. And I think the other was George Sherrill, who also, I think, was an all-star for Baltimore for a year. And basically, with Adam Jones, he had himself, Adam Jones, Nick Markakis in the outfield, 2 solid everyday guys. And they had their playoff runs and they had their chances to get into the playoffs. And they couldn't re-sign Jones. Jones ended up in a contract squabble, couldn't get a contract. Then nobody wanted to sign him as a free agent. Ended up after the free agent deadline when he signed with the Diamondbacks, got his money. But unfortunately, he missed about 5 or 6 weeks of the season because by waiting that long, the Diamondbacks didn't have to give compensation to the Orioles. Got his money, played that year in Arizona, and then left to go to Japan. Currently in Oryx Buffalo and playing for the Oryx Buffaloes. But unfortunately, for Baltimore, had a great run, great career, and kind of left on, I'm not saying sour terms, but probably left with a bad taste in his mouth. So he's in a second year of a 3-year deal in Oryx, playing just outside of Osaka in Japan, and apparently loving life over there because he's got his guaranteed money, and he's still only about 34 years old, so he's got a lot of time left. But just to finish, jumping back to Tyler Stevenson, who we were talking about with the Cincinnati Reds, Tyler Stevenson, catcher. He's the kind of guy that, as far as I'm concerned, is somebody I'm probably not going to put any money into in investing in cards, being that he's a catcher and he's playing in Cincinnati. Those are 2 strikes against him. But you never know. Moving on a little bit, I'm going to jump over a couple of guys, and I'm going to get to Brady Singer of the Kansas City Royals. And this is one of those ones that I said before, I don't like investing, or I wouldn't put my money into Kansas City Royal players if you're looking to get some sort of future return in your baseball cards. And Brady Singer, I would have argued that going into the draft in 2018, he was the first round pick of the Kansas City Royals. He may have been a better option than Casey Mize, who the Tigers took at 1. Brady Singer going into that year was absolutely fantastic, but he did not have a great season in college that year. I think it knocked him down in the draft, and obviously slid to 18th. But he was arguably, on most people's draft boards, a flip of the coin between him and Casey Mize at 1 or 2 before that season had started. And last year, he made his major league debut in the shortened season. He got 12 starts. Basically, he took the ball every 5th day last year in Kansas City. He was 4-5 with a 4.06 ERA, and he had 61 strikeouts and 64 in the third innings. So I think Brady Singer is a guy that I would keep an eye on, but I wouldn't be pouring a lot of money into his cards. I think you could probably pick Singers up on the cheap, and again, because he's in Kansas City, that's going to hurt him in terms of long-term value. Whereas, as we mentioned before, you get a guy like Jason Dominguez, or you get somebody like a Davey Garcia who starts their career in New York. It can really add to the popularity of their cards early on in their careers. After Brady Singer, I'm going to again skip over a couple guys. I'm going to skip over Ryan Castellani of the Rockies, but I do want to talk about Christian Javier of the Houston Astros. And Christian Javier, obviously last year in the playoffs, showed that he's got some October stuff, and obviously made his debut, I believe, in the playoffs last year. Much like on the other side, we had Alex Kirilloff make his major league debut in the in the American League playoffs for the Minnesota Twins. So STM Jr. says, you think Miguel Amaya might get some looks at the Cubs as a backup catcher because we lost Cartini and Wilson needs a break time to time? That's a good question. There is talk about Amaya being at some point in time in the mix. I'm not sure if he's going to make the team out of spring training or not. The Cubs are not a team that I keep tabs on regular. I kind of know their better stuff and their prospects. I do know that they are talking about Amaya and his potential breakthrough into the bigs. And they put quite a bit of money, as far as I know, into Amaya. He was one of the bigger, I guess what you call it, international signings in the last few years out of Panama. Now, Amaya, he went down. He played in the Winter League over the off season. He got a chance to play in the Arizona Fall League in 2019. In natural progression, I would have thought last year he would have been in Double-A. He's only 20. He's going to be 22 years old at some point this year. I think that Amaya is still in a situation where he probably needs to play every day. So to answer your question, would you bring him up to have him be a backup catcher if you're projecting him to be your number one? And so I think if I'm the Cubs, I might not bring him up until later in the year. He needs to get some at-bats and he needs to play regular. And so maybe you're looking at about 2-3 months into the season before they start maybe bringing him back up and having him play. Or that's my guess. And some of it has to do with service time, but also why bring him up if he's going to have to sit behind somebody. He says, yeah, AAA first before getting some swings. And that's the other problem. He played in High A in 2019. He got to the Arizona Fall League in 2019, and Double-A would have been a big year. I'm not always convinced guys need to make the stop at AAA. I think you can call guys straight up from Double-A and get to the big leagues. You see it year in and year out. Guys will just bounce right over AAA to get to Double-A because Double-A is considered almost like the prospect league, and AAA is where guys might have to go and work on a tool or work on something. Or if they're in the big leagues, hey, they made it to the big leagues, you got the stuff. Now we need to send you down to either figure out something. We got to work on your base stealing, or you got to work on your defense, or maybe you got to work on your two-strike approach, or maybe you got to work on contact or whatever. But certainly, as far as I'm concerned, I think a guy like with the cut out of the gate. So that's Miguel Amaya. A couple other thoughts. As I said, I'm going to skip over a couple of guys here. We just talked about Brady Singer, and I was going to look at Christian Javier of the pitcher for the Houston Astros. And Christian Javier last year, obviously in the playoffs, showed some pretty interesting stuff. I mean, he was pretty legit. Last year in the regular season, I thought he was the other guy who got called up, but he was actually 5-2 last year. He had 10 starts in 12 games with an ERA of 3.48 for Houston, 54 strikeouts and 54 in a third inning. So he's got some swing and miss stuff. And it's one of those things. Javier's going to get a chance to pitch there. Obviously, it's been a slow leak since the World Series victory in Houston. You've got Zach Greinke leading the way. You've got an injured Justin Verlander. Garrett Cole's been gone now 2 years removed. You're going to have guys like Jose Urquidy and Lance McCullers Jr. And, of course, looks like Forrest Whitley there is got some health issues, so he may not be able to make his debut. And Christian Javier is going to get an opportunity to be able to pitch. STM Jr. says Starlin Castro did, but he went down fast, sadly, after that 200-hit season. And that is unfortunate. When you think of Starlin Castro and Javi Baez, after the Darwin Barney, and I can't remember who your other stiff was over there in the middle infield, although Darwin Barney was a great defender. I think it was Ryan Theriot. So Theriot and Barney are certainly distant memories for the Cubs. And, of course, having the two players of Baez and Castro, you would have thought that they would have been the keystone combination for years, and Addison Russell. So you go back a few years ago, Addison Russell, Starlin Castro, then Addison Russell gets himself in trouble, ends up overseas last year in the Korean League, has more hits in the house by knocking his girlfriend or wife around than he does on the field, which is really, really unfortunate. But then you have you've got basically a middle infield that's going to feature probably Nico Horner and Javi Baez this year. So how has that changed over? Starlin Castro, you're right, faded fast, and that was unfortunate. He was called up. It looked like he was going to be there for a while, and of course, maybe he ate his way out of his position when he was there. Let's see here. We'll see. You'd be right, the riot. I'm not sure what that is, but we'll see whatever else. But certainly those guys there, where's the future? And the future's kind of slid away for those guys. Next up on my hit list is Christian Pache, and I know a lot of people are pretty hot on Pache, and he is the outfielder for the Atlanta Braves. And Pache, my challenge and issue with Pache is he is stuck behind Acuna, Freeman, Albies, and of course the pitchers being Soroka and Fried and Anderson, who are really going to get some notoriety in Atlanta. So, kind of like the Joe Adele syndrome, where there's a lot of good players in front of him. They're not necessarily marketing him. I think I've always considered Atlanta to be a kind of a B grade type of franchise. They're not a glamour franchise like the Cubs or the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Red Sox, but they're in that next layer down. And so don't get me wrong, they would probably be in there with the Mets in terms of popularity and in terms of fan base. You could argue and say the Giants would be in that class too, especially when they're kind of humming. The Angels might be in that, maybe when the Rangers and the Astros are going. But I just really don't know what Christian Pache is going to be able to offer, and I guess we're going to find that out. This year. So, but with that being said, Christian Pache, there's been a lot of talk about him. He had an opportunity last year to come up to the big league level. I think that he probably is, or was it last year? He only had 4 plate appearances. He was 1 for 4, a couple of strikeouts, but he's pretty much dominated at every level of ball in the minor leagues. He's played out. He's got nothing left to prove. Doesn't show a lot of home runs. He only hit 11 bombs in Double-A in 2019. He had stole bases at the earlier levels in the minors. He stole 32 bases one year in the Sally League, but getting to the big leagues is a little bit different. Ryan Ryan Terrio, nickname was the Riot, ironically, his last name spelled out. Yeah, well, Ryan Terrio, Terrio and Barney, just to jump back, Darwin Barney, obviously an Oregon State product, who ended up with the Blue Jays organization and had that streak. He was, I think, a full season or almost a year without making an error. That was pretty cool. Darwin Barney's glove, but no bat, unfortunately, for him. Terrio, I think Cubs fans probably forgot about both of those guys by now with Javi Baez and, as I say, even with Russell and Castro, there were better options. So hopefully Nico Horner can settle in and be productive and build on maybe some of the early season banter that he got last year. But Horner and Baez need to be the keystone guys in Chicago this year if they're going to have some success. Just taking a look at a few other things here, and we'll take a little moment to also mention to everybody that don't forget, tomorrow we are going to do a live auction, and we're going to do a live auction with Jimmy at Redbeard Breaks. It's going to be a high-end auction, and we are going to have all kinds of interesting stuff going on tomorrow. We are going to have 2017 Judge Hunt. So in the lots, there'll be a pack of 2017 cards, and basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be auctioning off the cards and with a pack. And so a lot of the packs and the cards will start at $15 to $20, and on eBay the packs themselves go for $10 to $12 depending on who you're buying it from. And so you get an opportunity and a chance to possibly get yourself a judge, and so that's what we're going to be going on. STM Junior says, I remember that error streak for Darwin Barry. It was a great memory spark. Yeah, Darwin Barney, certainly, a product at Oregon State. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he was on one of those back-to-back title teams of the Oregon State Beavers. Obviously, a product of some pretty good college baseball. Walked right in and was able to get it going. I can't remember where Terrio went to school. For some reason, I want to say Terrio was a LSU Tiger, but not really sure about that one. Here's Bobby Catalano. Welcome to the stream, Bobby. Thanks for stopping in. We're talking about the 2021 Topps rookie class, and we're going through the stuff and looking at the cards and making some suggestions on who to put money into, who I would spend my money on, who I would maybe not put my money on. And we were just going through Christian Pache of the Atlanta Braves, and certainly Pache is a guy who there's a lot of popularity about right now. I just don't know if his power projects, and I don't know if he's going to be able to run at the major league level. So I guess we'll see how that all shapes up. The next one on the hit list, we're going to skip over another Astro prospect because I want to get to Nick Madrigal of the Chicago White Sox. And Nick Madrigal made his major league debut last year. I know there's some people who were maybe partial to Mendick, who was the sort of the rookie last year playing second base. But Nick Madrigal was he's kind of a pea shooter. He's not, doesn't have a lot of pop in the bat. He's a little guy. He's 5'8", 175 pounds, but he's the kind of guy who can wreak havoc on the bases, and he is also one of those guys that is able to get on base and to get himself around. He finds ways to get on base, but he doesn't have a lot of juice in the stick. And he was 35 for 103 last year at the plate, and he had a couple of stolen bases. The other thing that's neat about Madrigal, he had 340, but he only had 7 strikeouts in those 103 at bats. So in a lot of ways, he's kind of a throwback to the to old school guys. He's got a great approach at the plate and keeps it in there. Hollis says he's out. Got to get this birthday dinner out of the way. It's great for you to stop by, Hollis. Thanks a lot, man. And STM chimes in and says he had a teammate come from LSU too. Mike Fontenot, that's right. Fontenot did play there. He played for the Cubs for a few years. And maybe I'm turning into a Cubs fan. I know more about the Cubs than I should know. It's been a few years since I've been to Wrigley. It's going to be 15 years this June that I was last at Wrigley Field. I got a chance to come down for a Detroit Tiger, 2 games in a Tiger Cubs series. It was an interleague series, and on the Saturday, the weather couldn't have been any nicer. Curtis Granderson, I remember, led off the first game with a triple, and Tigers rumbled over the Cubs. And the second day was the only time I got an opportunity to see Mark Prior pitch live. And unfortunately, the Tigers, unfortunately for Prior, the Tigers knocked him out in the 3rd inning. I think he went 2 1/3 innings. He had just come off the disabled list. He had a couple of rehab starts. And, he really wasn't the same guy that he was, the early parts of his career. And, kind of sad in a lot of ways. That was kind of I don't know if it was the beginning of the end or if it was nearing the end of his pitching. But Mark Prior, unfortunate short career, a lot of talent, a lot of ability, but never maximized it. But back to the South Side, Nick Madrigal, probably not a guy I would invest money into. I mean, you look at the big boppers in that lineup like Moncada, Roberts, Jimenez, and Abreu. They're going to get a lot of love as Yasmani Grandal and others in White Sox land. But nice player, Nick Madrigal, maybe the 2020 version of Dustin Pedroia, diminutive righty, stick, right-handed, obviously thrower at second base, but only 5'8". So yeah, it's kind of one of those things. Somewhere I've got a Mark Prior autograph card floating around these parts. I don't know where they are, but it was out of one of the archives from a couple of years ago. And I like Prior. And of course, while we're talking about Prior, you can't not talk about Kerry Wood, because Kerry Wood was absolutely electric. And he was fantastic fun to watch. I remember that 20 strikeout game that he had. Mark Prior was obviously one of the tops in all of baseball at that time. Off of Nick Madrigal, and I'm going to move along a little bit here. I'm going to talk a little bit about Luis Patino and what happened to Luis Patino this past year. And so, of course, Luis Patino, he's with the Tampa Bay Rays now. He was a big part of that deal that sent Blake Snell over to the Padres. And STM says his Cubs rookies, great baseball talk, watching the March Madness in the background. Thanks, STM. If you got any questions, feel free to flip it at me or test me out, see if I can remember. Unfortunately, I'd like to tell you I'm working the Google full time, but I'm not, because I've got my StreamYards up and I'm reading the chat, and so a lot of this stuff is off the top of my head of what I can remember. And as I say, some of the teams, if you're asking me Colorado Rocky baseball, you're probably gonna throw high heat past me, because I don't think I'm gonna be able to keep up. And I think, Bobby, if I'm not mistaken, you're a Tampa Bay Ray fan. Is that correct? You're a big fan of the Rays? And Bobby says she's going to be right back. But I think, with the Tampa Bay Rays, obviously they're a bit of a factory. I've had a chance to get down to Tampa, and I actually went to the University of Tampa to see their stadium, because they're a Division II power. But I was there in the off season. I saw a hockey game in Tampa. I went to the Amalie arena, but I didn't see any baseball at that time of the year that I was down there. It was early January, late December that I was in Tampa. But Luis Patino, big part of that trade for Snell. He got 11 games in the big leagues, and he was one start last year. The rest was out of the bullpen. I do believe they're looking for him to be a starter in Tampa. Logged 17 1/3 innings, had himself 18 hits, 10 runs all earned, and of course he had 3 homers and 14 walks and 21 strikeouts. So that is the way it worked for him. We got the next guy up on my hit list, but Patino, they're expecting him to take over a starting spot in the rotation. And of course, there's a lot of stuff up for grabs in Tampa. With Ryan Yarborough, you're looking at Tyler Glasnow. They signed Michael Wacha in the offseason. There's 3 They brought somebody else in off the top of my head, and I can't remember who that was to replace Charlie Morton as well. And so it looks like Patino's got a great chance. STM says, that's great. I'll tell you, being a Cubs fan, that's great. But, a few of those diehards Cubs fans. But PC's Eddie Murray, switch hitting monster. Yeah, for sure. Eddie Murray, absolutely a switch hitting monster. I would probably say the best switch hitter in baseball prior to Chipper Jones. So, like, in other words, since Chipper Jones came on the scene, I think Chipper, I could argue and maybe say Chipper was better than Eddie Murray, maybe because of the position he played and where he was at. But Eddie Murray, certainly a great Baltimore Oriole and a great switch hitter. Fantastic career with Baltimore. Just scrolling down my list here as I move along past him and Madrigal, there's a few guys I'm not familiar with. I know they've been around here and they've been talking about, and Chadwick Trump is one with San Francisco. I haven't done my homework on Chadwick yet. Blake Taylor. We got Dane Dunning of the Chicago White Sox. Again, Giants, Astros, White Sox. Dunning's a pitcher. Another guy, Chris Bubbick of the Royals. He's actually in competition for a spot in their rotation. I remember doing a little bit on Bubbick, and he's somebody that they're going to lean on possibly in the 4 or the 5 spot. But the guy that I like, and again, not liking pitchers so much, but a guy that I like, I think is going to get to have some impact innings, is Ian Anderson of the Atlanta Braves. And Ian Anderson is a guy that definitely you're going to have to consider investing in it. The Braves, when you think of that rotation of that had Smoltz, Glavine, Maddox, Steve Avery, Mark Wohlers, you go back years ago. I think of Ian Anderson as a guy that obviously was a first round pick. He was 3rd overall in the 2016 draft out of a high school by the Braves. Made his big league debut last year and also pitched in the playoffs, and he looked slick. So, 3 wins, 2 losses in the regular season, 1.95 ERA and 6 starts. Electric arm, 32 in the 3rd innings, struck out 41 batters. He's well over a strikeout per inning. I think Ian Anderson is a guy that you've got to keep tabs on and might be worth maybe throwing some cheap investment into it, because the staff that they're assembling down there, we may be talking about another John Schmaltz or those kind of guys in future years. STM asked the question, and I'll back up in a minute to the other one. Who's going to have a better year, Eloy Jimenez or Lubob? And I think it's going to be Eloy Jimenez. I think Lubob is still another year or so away from really hitting full stride. I think Lubob has got potential to be a 300+ hitter, especially in that lineup when you've got, you got other bats around you like, Abreu and Madrigal and Grandal and so on and so forth. So I do think Jimenez is going to carry the mail. I think, and he's I don't want to say he's a sleeper, but I think a lot of people are sleeping on him because you always hear about Abreu and Lubob and so on and so forth. So if I'm putting money on it, I'm going with Eloy Jimenez. I think he's going to be the real deal. And of course, if I'm not mistaken, Jimenez came over to the White Sox from the Cubs. And if I recall correctly, that would have been in the Jose Quintana deal. And unfortunately for the Cubs, Jose Quintana never really had the success in Chicago that he did, or with the Cubs as he did with the White Sox. So by the looks of it, it looks like you see a few others: Scott Rowland, Ernie Banks, Sandberg, Billy Williams, Dale Murphy, and Ron Santo. On your list of guys that you're talking about, I really like. I always really like Dale Murphy. In some ways, I always say the ages of 35 to 40 are the ages that put guys into the Hall of Fame. It's not what they do up to the age of 35. It's what they do between 35 and 40. So I've always was a Dale Murphy fan. I'm a little bit disappointed that he just didn't have enough to get into the Hall of Fame. But the way that guys are being named into the Hall these days, maybe he gets a shot. I don't know where he's at on the Veterans Committee list, but I always liked the way he played in Atlanta and, of course, later in Philadelphia. Ernie Banks is a no-brainer. Ryan Sandberg is a guy that my dad used to PC. My dad's PCs were pretty easy back in the 80s. He had Sandberg's, Ripkins, Roger Clemens, and who was the other one he had? Clemens. Oh, Mark McGuire. And also the fifth guy was Ben McDonald. We won't talk about Ben McDonald, but those first four guys were quite a bit to talk about. And they were pretty decent. So that was his deal. But looking at your guys, Ryan Sandberg, that was, I believe, 83 tops. What a great, awesome experience for him. 83 tops, kind of cool. Always liked Sandberg. I had a buddy of mine who was umpiring in the minor leagues when Sandberg was in the Phillies organization as a manager. And he did say that Ryan Sandberg had to be one of the worst guys to come out to argue. He said he could not function in an argument with an umpire. He could not come out and get into it with the umps, and it was kind of funny. So he just basically said he was pretty pretty much just a one man kind of gang. It was kind of neat. STM says they are stacked. They got Moncada and Anderson there too. I think Tim Anderson is a really, 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 really neat guy to watch. Tim Anderson, I saw him play in Seattle. It would have been in 2019, I think it was, or 2018. And the thing that I was really impressed, sometimes you watch games on TV and you see guys and you really don't appreciate them until you're there in person. And the thing that I noticed about Tim Anderson was his speed. Tim Anderson going to his left to get balls up the middle was unbelievable. I saw him. I got a chance to see the White Sox play down in Arizona in a 3-game series a few years ago as well. But it really came to fruition when I was watching him take ground balls prior to a game against Seattle, just how he could move to his left, get balls up the middle. He was an absolute vacuum cleaner, and to keep under control. That was the other part, not just moving to his left, but keeping himself under control to get to those balls, and the smooth quickness that he was able to do it with. That was pretty amazing. That's Tim Anderson. So yeah, they are a stacked team, and it'll be very interesting to see how Tony La Russa is able to manage. He doesn't have his wingman Dave Duncan with him, I don't believe. So it'll be kind of cool to see what happens. I'm going to skip over another couple players, and I'm going to jump to card 244, Spencer Howard. He is a prospect for the Philadelphia Phillies. And, of course, he is prospect on the mound. You're looking at, obviously Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola leading the way in Philadelphia, and they really haven't figured out that next spot yet in the rotation. They lost Arrieta. Arrieta's getting a little bit long in the tooth, maybe truth too. But you've got Spencer Howard, who's a pitcher. He bats right, throws right, and there's a lot of talk that he's going to be kind of another impact guy. He's 24 years old. He was a second-round pick. He went to Cal Poly. And, last year, ERA up around 6, struck out 23 guys in 24 innings, but, got knocked around a little bit. So hopefully, in a full season, he's going to get an opportunity to show his wares. Now, a few other things with regards to this is Spencer Howard, like I think of the Phillies with Wheeler and Nola being the 1-2 guys. Nick Pivetta, who they had and they traded to the Red Sox, he had the 1 year, and he wasn't even a, what I would call great year, but he never really built upon that season that he had. They've got a number of guys that they've kind of rolled through their rotation, and their bullpen is even in more dire straits. So I don't know where Philadelphia is going to fit in the mix in the East. And, certainly their offense is pretty good, but, their pitching, it runs pretty thin. And I don't know what Joe Girardi's going to do over there other than maybe invest in Grecian formula, because he's going to need it, because his hair is going to turn, certainly a whole different kind of gray. STM says they got Zach Eflin, but you're right, not much there. He goes, I can see him starting. Yeah, Eflin's another guy who's going to get a rollout over there. I think that there's a lot of guys who are going to get in their system. They're going to get a look-see. They just need a third guy to kind of get them over the hump. But as I said, I think their bullpen is going to cost them games, and that's the unfortunate part. They just don't have a good enough bullpen over there. So that's Spencer Howard. The next guy kind of on my hit list as I move down the list is a Dodger now, and that's Kybert Ruiz. That's card number 256. And Kybert Ruiz, for whatever reason, I feel like we've heard about him for forever, and he is 22 years old. And I think he is at some point going to get himself an opportunity to see big time major league action. Last year he played in 2 games. He had 8 at bats. He had a couple of hits with a home run and an RBI. But I think that he's going to get opportunity coming soon. And the opportunity that I think he's going to get is because, Will Smith is obviously there, who they've, kind of put stuff on. And who's the other one? Austin Barnes. Between those two guys, they got to clear one of those guys out of there. But Ruiz may be another one of those situations like we talked about Miguel Amaya earlier, where he starts the season off down in the minor leagues. He's playing every day, gets the at-bats, and then, obviously injuries take place, and we'll see what happens in, about 6 to 8 weeks into the season. But I think you got to give him with the minor leagues starting a little bit later this year, I think you're going to have to give him at least a month of minor league baseball where he's playing every day to get him going. But Ruiz is, as I say, everybody seems to be talking about him. It seems like he's been around forever. It's kind of like that first baseman, Yordan Alvarez. How many years can he be a rookie? And that's somebody that we're talking about. Another guy down in Texas. Speaking of teams that are, looking for guys, what is it? Letty Tavares is a Texas Ranger, and the Texas Rangers, obviously there's there's I don't know, hope in Texas. There's hope for something, and Tavares is obviously a guy that's going to get an opportunity. He got to play a bit last year, had himself 134 plate appearances, 119 at bats, had 27 hits, batted .227, showed a little bit of power. He had 4 homers to go with 6 RBIs, struck out a lot, 43 times in 119 at bats. You're looking at well over 33%. So it'll be interesting to see what he's going to be able to do for the Rangers this year. He's going to get an opportunity to play. He's only 22 years old, from the Dominican. And so, there's not a lot of other people around him down there in Texas, so he's going to get that chance. And, when you think of guys like Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, and you got, Nick Solak and different guys, I think they acquired David Dahl in the offseason in the outfield. Those guys are going to get a chance to play. And there's just a lot of wild cards down there in Texas. And, of course, their pitching staff is rolled over quite a bit in the last few years. So, it's going to be a tough year, but it'll be a chance that the prospects will get a chance to be able to play regular. Another guy that I kind of like down in Miami is Jesus Sanchez. And Jesus Sanchez is another guy who's going to get a bit of an opportunity to play. He was with the Marlins last year. He's 23 years old. He's a Dominican. I'm just looking back at STM before we get into Jesus Sanchez and my thoughts on him. He asks, how long do you think Joe Maddon will keep Joe Adell down? It's a good question. Well, I'd be surprised if he doesn't make the opening day roster. Although, with that being said, it's not necessarily a bad thing if he was in AAA to start the year to get his bat going. I think you want to have him swinging regular and playing regular. Right now, in the outfield in Angel Land, you've got Trout, you've got Upton, and I'm not sure who that other outfielder is at the moment in Los Angeles with the Angels. So I think that obviously 2 spots are taken. I think that, again, in a perfect world, I leave him down there, get his bat going, and then call him up when it's hot. But because the minor league season is going to start a little bit later, you may or may not be able to. He may not be able to afford to keep Joe Adell down, much longer, if at all. He's going to have to get that opportunity. So the other guy was Dexter Fowler, acquired in the trade. So you got Upton, Trout, and Fowler. Yeah, Dexter Fowler is definitely keeping the seat warm for Joe Adell. There's JVK Cards and Collectibles in the house. JVK, thanks for stopping by. Hope you're enjoying your evening. We're just going through the 2021 basically 2021 rookie list in Topps, and talking about which cards to invest in and which cards to avoid. And obviously, the topic of Joe Adell has come back up again. And he's a guy that I probably am not putting a lot of my investment into, although he's somebody I do like, but I don't know if I'm putting frontline money into him. So yeah, Dexter Fowler starts. Upton and Trout are your outfield to begin the year. Adell needs at bats and he needs some seasoning. I think if he gets it going in the minor leagues, once they get going, then he gets a call up somewhere in late May, early June. Fowler's not a young guy anymore. He's going to be 35 years old this year. He's lost quite a bit of step in his game. I think he's definitely, once he's ready, he's going to be holding down the right field position. Cole Calhoun. I don't know what the situation with Cole Calhoun is going to be. I mean, I think that, I look at their roster. I don't even know if Cole Calhoun is there anymore, if I'm not mistaken. I think Cole Calhoun is gone. Did Calhoun not go to Arizona? Is he not a Diamondback? I'm pretty sure he's out of their organization. He's a Diamondback, and if I'm not mistaken, last year Calhoun was the guy who was hitting the rundown between first and second base. He got drilled in a rundown in the back, and I don't think he appreciated that very much. So yeah, he's gone. He's out of there. It's Dexter Fowler and then Juan Lagares, and they got somebody else up there who I don't know. I don't know who it is. Okay, moving along, and to our next one on our list, we got 2021 Series 1 Topps. We were talking about Jesus Sanchez, and Jesus Sanchez got his opportunity to make a major league debut last year. He's 23 years old from the Dominican Republic, and he was a guy who definitely missed not having a minor league season. He got up there. He was 1 for 25 with a double and 2 RBIs. And he struck out 11 times in those 25 at bats. So, one hit 080. It's unfortunate. It's one of those things. So Joey Bart's name comes up again. He said JBK likes Joey. Joey Bart probably rushed last year to get to the big leagues because Buster Posey sat out citing COVID. I think that Joey Bart is obviously a top prospect. He's in all of baseball. My concern last year with Joey Bart was no power. And Joey Bart last year, he really he struggled at the plate to show any type of juice. Last year, he had 7 extra base hits. I thought in my mind, he had 3. So 7 extra base hits out of his 24 hits. He stands. He's a big guy. He's 6'2" and 240. Earlier, Ray was in here and asked about a Big Ray, and we were talking, and I said the thing about Joey Bart is is he probably doesn't play at the big league level last year if Buster Posey's still running ship in San Francisco. He would have benefited by having a full minor league season last year. So he's got a lot of upside potential. Obviously, you're not taking, in the first round of the draft, second overall, if you don't have potential. But my concern for Joey Bart is, does he have enough juice in the bat to swing it at the big league level? And that we don't know about. So Joey Bart is one. Do I like him? I like the team he's on. I like San Francisco. They're kind of, as I say, a mid-grade team to me for investing in cards. He's a catcher. I don't like that. And I don't like the fact that he doesn't have a whole lot of power. So those are a couple of things. So I'm just going to take a couple moment break here, and I'm just going to go and get myself a drink and clear my throat, because we've been doing this for about an hour and a half nonstop. And we're going to come back and we're going to finish it off with our Topps 2021 Series 1 and my picks on who I think are cards in which to invest in. And we still got about 4 or 5 guys that are left on this hit list that are going to be pretty decent. So stay tuned. I'll be back in about 30 seconds. And we are back, everybody, and we are talking 2021 Topps Baseball Series 1 and the rookies and what to invest in and maybe what not to invest in. And we've been kind of tossed a line off here. We are talking a little bit right now about Joey Bart of the San Francisco Giants. We've gone back to him. And the question that comes in from STM Jr. is, do you think that he'll stay as a catcher? And so it's a great question. I think that initially they're probably going to have him catch. I think their druthers would be, if he's going to catch, that gives Buster Posey the opportunity to stay in the lineup and play some first base. And this could be a transition year. Maybe you keep both Bart and Posey, and you let Bart do the majority of the catching. You let Posey play more first base. And of course, they had Brandon Belt move to the outfield when that was happening. Probably better team with Belt at first, Posey catching, and then a little bit different in the outfield. Welcome, Ryan. We are talking about the 2021 Topps Series 1 set, the rookies to look at, the rookies to invest in. And thanks for giving up your Friday evening to check out what we're doing. We're going to be on here for about another 90 minutes or so. And I'm going to do myself a little break here. I've got between 7 and 8 o'clock tonight, we are going to open a mega box of 2021 Series 1. And we're also going to open up a hanger box of 2019 update. And we'll go from there. I see Bobby Catalano is back in the house. And so, Bobby, we were talking earlier about Wander Franco, and I think you are a Tampa Bay Ray fan. So maybe I'll throw a question out to Bobby as she's listening in, is what do you think they're going to do in Tampa with Willy Adames? Is Willy Adames going to still be a Ray by the All-Star break, or is he going to be dealt and Wander Franco will be patrolling shortstop for Tampa Bay? What are your thoughts, Bobby? I know there's a bit of delay on my end, so I'll wait until you get an opportunity to type in your answer. But I'll cue it up as we're going to continue on, and I'm going to talk about the next one, and that's going to be Alec Baum, and we'll go from there. So Bobby is obviously sending her hellos around. She says, it's 9:20. I might be sleeping. Maybe she's sleep typing while she is in the chat room. You never know. So Alec Baum is the next one. Let's see. Bobby says he better be. They put Wander Franco back in the minors. So I think, in my opinion, what I would want to do with Wander is Steve says Wander will be up either late May or early June, and Adames will be dealt for more prospects, in his opinion. And I agree with you wholeheartedly, Steve. I really do. And as I said earlier, I think the dance partner for me is the Cincinnati Reds. And the Cincinnati Reds, I know they got some young pitching prospects down there, like Nick Lodolo, who comes to mind right off the hop. Would be maybe a guy that they would package up in a deal like that to get this out of there. So I'm just looking here. We've got possibly I'm saying Lodolo, but I'm trying to think of some of the other top Red prospects off the top of my head that are pitchers. And of course, I mean, there's other teams involved too, but with Eugenio Suarez going to be playing shortstop, I just don't know how that's gonna fit in. Bobby says, I'm tired of the Rays trading my favorite players. Well, we had there it is. Nick Lodolo is their number one guy. Hunter Green is their number two. Obviously, they're talking about promoting Jonathan India and having him play second base, and then putting Suarez at short. I don't know how that's going to work. But, maybe there's some prospects that are, a little bit further down the list that they can give up and package to be able to get it. But I think that's the right thing for Tampa Bay to do. I know that there was one of our former players at the University of British Columbia, Curtis Taylor, was traded to the Rays straight up for Brad Boxberger. Boxberger was an all-star reliever who ended up going to Arizona. And then they ended up flipping Curtis Taylor and somebody else to the Blue Jays, and they got Eric Sogard and somebody else back in return. And, the Tampa Bay Rays, I got to tip my hat to them. They've done a great job of being able to buy low and sell high, and they don't make too many mistakes on big-time trades. So getting rid of Archer and getting rid of, at the time, and getting Glasnow and Meadows back in return, what a great trade for Tampa Bay. And I have a feeling that Blake Snell trade is going to come back to pay dividends for him too. What a fantastic opportunity. STM says, or before STM, Steve says, welcome to my Brewers of the 80s and 90s, a farm club for big spenders. And it's true, Steve. There's only going to be those small windows for teams to be able to operate and to win. I think of the Kansas City Royals. And the Kansas City Royals are that team. They are somebody who has to draft well, develop. They keep a certain amount of players, and then they have to decide which guys they're going to sign and keep with them and which guys they're going to cut loose. So, for example, Will Myers, he had a tour in Kansas City. Eric Hosmer, also former Kansas City Royal. But you look at, they chose to invest in Alex Gordon. They chose to invest in Salvador Perez and lock those guys up long-term, and then the other guys become expendable. So Bobby says, I swear if they trade Kevin Kiermaier, I'm going to quit baseball. Well, I remember being in Pittsburgh back in the mid-'80s at some point, and it might have been like 86 or 87, and I was in a store, and a woman said, if the Pirates trade Bill Madlock, I'm going to quit watching baseball. And anyways, what ended up happening, it wasn't maybe 2 or 3 weeks after I was in that store in Pittsburgh, and Madlock got traded to the Tigers. I want to say it was about 86 or 87, somewhere in that range. And Bill Madlock was literally like their last remaining star that they had on that team, and he got shipped off to Detroit. Well, Kevin Kiermaier, all of those guys are potentially going to be flipped at some point. And I don't know if, 25 years from now, when you look back at some of these, what I would call really good Tampa Bay teams, how many guys are still going to be Tampa Bay Rays for, more than 6 or 7 years in their career? They just can't get the people to come to the games. They can't get the sponsorship money. It's a real tough situation for Tampa Bay to be in down there. And that's just the way it goes. STM says they have Austin Meadows and what's that? Randy Arozarena. Though the Rays won't look bad. I don't think pitching might be different, but McKay is good too. I don't know what the situation on Brandon McKay is, when he is going to be ready and when he's going to return. I believe he's more somewhere after May or June, because he did get his Tommy John surgery. He didn't get it early last year. He went down, I want to say, probably when he did go down, it was they were already, you're probably looking at June or July at the earliest if he's at a timetable for him to come back. And Tommy John is interesting surgery, because some guys come back and really respond to it well, and some guys never are the same. And so it's going to be interesting to see how he's able to return. She says, didn't they take him off the roster, Brendan McKay? Yeah, Brendan McKay, if I'm not mistaken, he's on the 60-day DL because of the Tommy John surgery. And unfortunately for him, he's going to be off it for quite a bit. So he is still on their 40-man. But I don't think he's on the active roster. And as I said, I don't know if he's on the 60-day or his current injury situation. But we'll see where that ends up transpiring. So back to our list. The next guy that I wanted to talk about was Alec Bohm, or Bohm, depending on how you enunciate it. And he's with the Philadelphia Phillies. He made his big league debut last year, and there's a lot to like about him. And so for me, he's one of the top 3 prospect cards that, if you're looking to invest in cards, he's a guy that I'd be putting money into. So he had 160 at-bats and 180 plate appearances. He had 4 homers with 23 RBIs last year, and he had a cool 338 at the hot corner. And I really, really like Bohm. I think he's a guy that he's going to light it up. He's going to hit a pile of home runs in that park, and I think he's going to drive himself in 100 runs. And they got a pretty good offense. So he is a guy that's going to be able to play and be what I would say a very productive player for the Phillies. Plus, he where he's going to fit in, he's going to be in a situation where he's going to have I would say opportunity for people to he's going to get a lot of fastballs. There's going to be other guys that are going to have to pitch around, like Bryce Harper and Rhys Hoskins and so on and so forth. So wherever they put him in the lineup, he's going to get an opportunity to see fastballs, and he's going to get an opportunity to basically to put up some numbers. He's not going to get the off-speed stuff. They're not going to keep him off balance. They're going to say, hey, you got to beat us with Bohm. We don't want to get beat by Harper or by Hoskins in the middle of their lineup. So Bohm, definitely a guy that I would look at and invest in. I think the next guy on my hit list is somebody that I really like, and that would be the Cardinals' Dylan Carlson. And Dylan Carlson is another one. In a lot of ways, there's been a lot of dust in that Cardinal outfield, and hopefully the dust is going to start to settle. So Carlson was a first-round pick, 33rd overall out of high school in the 2016 draft. So he's 22 years old. He'll be 23 at some point in the calendar year. And the thing with Dylan Carlson is switch hitter, throws left, and then you look at the other outfield positions that are there. So you've got Lane Thomas, Harrison Bader, Tyler O'Neill, and they got a couple other guys that are out there as well. So I think at some point Carlson is going to get a chance to play every day, and it's either going to come this year or it's going to come next year. And he might be in a similar situation as some of the others we talked about, where he may not be in the he may not be a guy immediately that's going to get a big league opportunity. He might have to stay down and get some at-bats in the minor leagues, which isn't the worst thing in the world, and then get the opportunity to come up into play. And of course, the infield in St. Louis, it's a veteran infield with DeYoung and You've got Goldschmidt and Arenado and Yadi Molina, and I forget the other infielder, middle infielder, who's there. But you've got pretty much a veteran infield, and now you got to get some production from somebody out of the outfield. And so they've been waiting on. O'Neill had a great minor league portion of his career. He's got to the big leagues and he hasn't really delivered. Hasn't cut down on his strikeouts. Hasn't increased his batting average. Has shown flashes of power. Can't stay healthy. Harrison Bader, runs well. Not a lot of juice in the bat, or hasn't shown it at the big league level. And then of course you've got you got some other stuff that's going on. So I guess we're gonna have to wait and see what happens with that there. Our next one on the hit list after Dylan Carlson is going to be we've got I got a couple guys. I got Luis Garcia, the Nationals. I don't think a whole lot there, but I'm going to skip over Cody Hewer. But Tristan Mckenzie is with the Cleveland Indians, and in my opinion, Tristan Mckenzie is a top pitching prospect for the Indians. Tristan Mckenzie is a guy who can bring it. And I really like what Tristan Mckenzie can do. I think that they're not going to skip a beat without him. I think Tristan Mckenzie is a legitimate power arm, and he doesn't have to be in the top 3 spots in the rotation. He can settle in and get his feet wet by being a number 4 or number 5 guy. But I definitely see Tristan Mckenzie as a top 3 guy in somebody's rotation or in Cleveland's rotation moving forward. But right now in Cleveland, you've got Shane Bieber, you got Pleco, you got Plesac, you've got Savali, you've got Cal Quantrill fighting for a spot. You got all kinds of guys. But I definitely think that Tristan Mckenzie is a guy who can hold down a spot in the rotation. It could potentially be a top 3 guy. But the problem is, if you're looking to buy cards or put your money into cards or looking at it as an investment, you're probably looking at somebody who it's not going to be Tristan Mckenzie. He's with the Cleveland Indians, and that's a team that is a bit far away. I got 3 guys left, and my next guy on the list is a Tiger, and that is the former first-round overall pick, Casey Mize. And as far as I'm concerned, Casey Mize is I think the Tigers made a mistake. I think Brady Singer and Mize, I was talking about it earlier, that Brady Singer was a guy who was definitely a guy who was tops on, with regards to a top draft choice. Like there was a toss-up coin between Mize and Singer in that draft year, who was going to go 1-2. And then Singer didn't have a great season, and he slid in the draft going 18th overall to the Royals. And Tigers obviously took Casey Mize, and Casey Mize didn't have a great outing today, although AJ Hinch was pumping him up and saying it wasn't as bad as what it looked like, but it sure wasn't great. And Casey Mize pitched against the Blue Jays. He didn't make it out of the I don't believe he made it out of the 3rd inning. And he gave up 5 runs and gave up Alejandro Kirk had hit a homer, and I think somebody else homered off him as well, gave up 5 runs. But Casey Mize is going to have to get this figured out. There's a lot of money and a lot of, hope put into him and the others in this Tiger, young crop of Tigers that are coming up. And Mize is supposed to be the anchor, but it looks like he's going to be an anchor for the wrong reasons. The next up is Nick Neidhart of the Miami Marlins. And the Miami Marlins this year have a pile of guys for prospects. They got a really young team, and he made his major league debut last year. And he pitched appeared in 4 games and all in relief, 8 in the 3rd innings, 5 runs earned, a couple of walks and 4 Ks. So, again, I mentioned it before, and I mention it now. I would stay away from. I would definitely stay away from relievers, and especially relievers on what I call low market teams. They're not worth investing in. So STM Junior asks, what do you think about Tariq Skubal? I think a lot of Tariq Skubal. I mentioned earlier in the stream, he was a former University of Seattle pitcher who Tommy John. Tigers got him, I believe, in the second round. And Skubal is a power arm lefty. And, earlier when I was talking about stuff, I'm just thinking about Skubal. He was able to recover, and he's even better than what he was. And that sometimes happens. Guys will get surgery. Guys will end up with going under the knife, and they don't recover. They don't recover the same, especially with Tommy John. But some guys come back throwing even harder, and it looks like Skubal is going to be one of those guys. And he's rocketed up where on some boards he's the number 2 prospect in the Tiger organization right now, behind or number 3 prospect behind Mize and Torkelson, and maybe ahead of Manning and Green. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see. So Skubal is there's a lot of stuff, but again, early season injuries or early portion of his career injuries are always a concern with pitchers. Why are they not healthy? Why can't they stay healthy? And here he's already got a Tommy John. He's got one injury down, and he's not even 25 yet. So yeah. So Rademacher is says that I'm our master knowledge database, and so if you only knew here that I'm sitting and doing this off the top of my head, I don't even have any notes in front of me right now, Steve and Bobby, and that's been the fun part to this, is being able to do this. And so, of course, when baseball is your job and you have to do this all the time, and you're paying attention and you're watching and you're looking at it and you're following because you're looking at pitchers and how they throw and hitters and how they hit, looking at swings, and you're trying to teach and you're trying to replicate and get kids to do similar stuff. It's all important. So you try to remember and you try to make those comparisons, especially when you see kids and when they hit and you say, hey, what does this guy swing like? And what does this guy look like? Or doesn't this guy remind you of that? Those are all the things that you try to file away. So my next guy after Casey, after Neidhart, is Casey Mize. And Casey Mize, of course, was the number 1 overall pick by the Detroit Tigers. And as I said, in my opinion, Brady Singer, for my money, arguably is a little bit further ahead of the curve. Last year, Mize had 7 starts for the Tigers. He was 0-3, and he had a absolutely bloated ERA of nearly 7. And unfortunately, Casey Mize is, a lot of money invested in him. He's going to get a lot of opportunities, but he's going to have to figure this out pretty quickly, because Detroit needs the help. And if Detroit has missed on these pitchers, they've had a lot of number 1 pitchers in the last little bit. I don't know when it's gonna happen. STM says, I just want to see Akil Baddoo. Great name in the Tigers organization. Well, Baddoo is a Rule 5 pick, and so right now it looks like if the season were to start tomorrow, he's probably earned himself a spot on the team. Baddoo is he's an outfielder, speedy outfielder. Looks like Jacoby Jones is going to hold down center field in Detroit. Victor Reyes had a really good year last year, but it looks like Robbie Grossman's going to be in one of the outfield spots, and it could be Baddoo in the other spot, because Riley Green, who's the top offensive prospect after Torkelson, is probably a year or 2 away. And so they're going to need some guys just to hold the fort down for them there. But Baddoo's had a good spring. Reyes has not. And so, they were talking about going into the season that Victor Reyes was probably going to be one of the outfielders. Well, the addition of Grossman and, of course, Nomar Mazara and now Baddoo and then Jones. So that looks like it's going to be the 4 outfielders heading north with Detroit. Victor Reyes may be starting the year down in AAA. And that's unfortunate for him. So I guess we're going to see what happens. Bobby says the 30th, I see them. The Tigers the Tigers versus your Rays. So that would be the day before opening day, if I'm not mistaken, because I think opening day is April the 1st, or 2 days before opening day. So are you going to see them, Bobby, in the Trop, or is it going to be in spring training in Lakeland, or where is Tampa's spring training grounds? I don't think you guys are in Tampa. That used to be for years the Yankees. So what do you got for me, Bobby? And obviously there's a bit of a delay. Oh, Bobby lives in Lakeland. Yeah, great spot, Lakeland, Florida. There was a high school, Father Lopez High School. I had a chance a number of years ago. I officiated one of their games down in down near Ormond Beach, and they played a team from DeLand called the Sand Crabs, and the Sand Crabs had I think they had about 11 kids that were graduating from the high school, going to a D1 college the next year. But they had, I think it was 7 or 8 arms that were all power arms. But if I'm not mistaken, Chet Lemon was coaching one of those teams too. And Chet Lemon was one of those ones. She says you can walk to Joker Marchant Stadium. I was at Joker Marchant Stadium as a kid back in the 80s, and my parents took a picture and everything else. And then I got a chance. It would have been 2000 and I want to say 2015 or 2014, January. And I got a chance to go to Joker Marchant Stadium. And I was really impressed with the way the Tigers had put some money into it. The Illiches had spent money, had really done a lot of makeover there. And it was a lot different than what I remember, but kind of a neat place. STM says he's going to the Cubs-Pirates game April the 4th. It's a Sunday day game. I assume that would be at Wrigley and not in Pittsburgh. And certainly Wrigley Field, great place to see a game. Probably of my 3 favorite stadiums, obviously going to Old Tiger Stadium for years, getting a chance to go to Fenway, and of course Wrigley. Those were 3 of the iconic parks to get a chance to go to. Awesome stuff. But probably my current favorite park to want to see, or that I've seen a game in, I haven't seen places everywhere. I vote for Pittsburgh. I really like PNC Park. If you get a chance, you can go sit there and stare out at the Allegheny, and you can, depending on where you're sitting, it's a great place to see a game. Really enjoyable. And so, yeah, pretty cool stuff. Well, I got one more guy left on the 2021 checklist, and Bobby says I went once last season, saw the Tigers versus the Pirates, was pretty fun, and then that's when they canceled it. Yeah, unfortunately, obviously, right in the middle of spring training, they shut everything down, and that would have been about the 16th or 17th. And kind of amazing how everything all came to a grinding halt as it did. The last rookie I do want to talk about is on my hit list is the other Marlin, and that was Eddie Alvarez. Also, same situation as kind of like the Nick Neidhart, and that is that I'm not a huge fan of Marlins, and whether it be pitchers, relief pitchers. Some of their prospects, although I will say JJ Bleday, Sisto Sanchez, Jesus Sanchez, all players to keep an eye on and to watch, because I think that Derek Jeter is building himself or stocking himself a strong minor league system that he wants in place. Well, we've got about probably going to be about another hour and change. I don't know if there's too many people that want in on it. I'm going to open this up. I've got to do a break here coming up, and I want to do a 2021 Monster Box and a 2019 Upper Deck Update Series Tops Box, Hanger Box. And it's going to be a team break. I've only got a couple of people that have purchased into the break. It's $25 shipped if anybody wants in. I may have to postpone it and maybe run it at a little bit later date. I would like to do a random team break out of this. But, we've got 3 people in here. I do need the cards for the 2021 because I need to open some of that stuff up and get it out to some of the kids. But while everybody's here, we'll do the commercial. Tomorrow after the COA channel, at high noon, I am going to be doing on Redbeard Breaks channel. We are going to be doing a auction, and we're going to be doing some stuff that we're going to be selling off a high-end auction. We have a 2017 Hobby Box Series 1 with the Judge. We're going to do a Judge hunt, so hopefully you can come on in and check it out and see what what we're doing. And of course, I've got all kinds of stuff that we're going to be putting up there. There's going to be Otanes, there's going to be Acuna Juniors, there's going to be Tatis, all the current big names, as well as some old time guys, from different spots that are around. So, we're going to put that up for auction and see how it goes. And hopefully we're able to be able to turn over and do a few bucks out of this stuff. But anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. But if not, I'm thinking I may shut this down for the night, because it's been 2 hours of me talking to myself. And I had a great opportunity, obviously, to have STM, Bobby, Steve Rademacher, Stoney, everybody else come in through the chat, and I can hold it down. But I definitely can't hold it down for an 18-hour stream like some of our other COMA members can do. So if anybody else has got any other questions, feel free to ask away. And if not, we're going to be shutting it down, and we're going to do it again in another week or so. So STM, thanks a lot for checking in. Bobby, hopefully we can see you tomorrow. And maybe we'll see some of the rest of you in the stream at a later date. All right, everybody, have a great night, and we'll do this all over again later.